From KETK, you're watching East Texas Live.
Welcome back. The Golden Girls and Gilmore Girls are both celebrating anniversaries. They're shows that left an impact on many lives during their runs and even now. Well, joining us now is comedy writer and producer for both shows, Stan Zimmerman. Good morning, Stan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, I have to say you have such a big career working with several TV shows and movies, especially ones that I loved watching growing up. So tell us a little bit about your work.
Well, it was exciting to see the Emmys last night. There were two of my shows actually had special presentations. I don't know if you saw, but Reba McEntire sang the wonderful theme song, Thank You for Being a Friend, which I'm sure you know the words to. Most people do. And then Lauren Graham and Alexis Bledel made a special appearance, and that was super fun. So it was just weird to have both of those shows and both anniversaries this year.
Yes, I mean, it was amazing tributes that they did. And so what other shows have you worked on?
A little show called Roseanne, you might remember. So that was exciting. I was on season 5 of that. I got to create my own show, Rita Rocks, with Nicole Sullivan on Lifetime. I wrote both Brady Bunch movies, and then about a year and a half ago, we wrote a Lifetime Christmas movie called Ladies of the 80s, A Diva's Christmas, and it was actually Lonnie Anderson's last film that she made.
Wow. I love a lot of those. Roseanne's one of my favorites. And so hearing that you worked on them is just amazing.
You're lucky in a career if you get one show that's kind of a hit, but to be involved in all three of those really, but Golden and Gilmore, they seem to have more popularity today than they did back then. And I've seen the new generations keep coming back and coming into the picture, and little kids come up to me and recite lines that I wrote, and I thought, you weren't even a thought when the first shows came out.
Yes, well, you know, streaming has definitely helped those shows and just made them continue on for generations to come.
Yes, we're very lucky, and the Gilmore Girls, there's a couple from Texas that actually started the Fan Fest Society, which is going to be in October in Connecticut. And once a year we take over a little Stars Hollow type town, and you know, we have a couple thousand, mostly women, mothers and daughters, that descend on a town, and we celebrate Gilmore Girls.
Oh, I love that. I'll definitely have to try to get there for that.
Yes, you would love it.
Yes, well, let's talk about the Golden Girls for a second and Gilmore Girls. Why are they so beloved, and how have they changed culture?
You know, it's funny, at the time when you're working on it, you don't think of the future, especially I was so young when I was on Golden Girls. I had no idea that we'd be talking about it 40 years down the road. Back then, a show with 4 older women was just, we never thought it would be possible to be this popular. And when we started on the show, you know, it didn't start at #1, but we got to see it grow week after week. And then when studio audiences would come to the show, they would come having watched the show, loving the characters, and all we would have to do was cut to a close-up of B. Arthur, and the audience would start laughing. They were so excited, and they kind of knew, uh-oh, what is she going to say to Rose or Blanche? So that was really exciting to be in on the ground floor of that, and for a young writer to learn from those 4 women and from the wonderful writing of Susan Harris.
Yes. That was one of my favorite shows to watch growing up. I mean, honestly, I'd stay up late just to try to watch Golden Girls.
A lot of people tell me they keep it on, you know, just in the background when they fall asleep. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm glad they watched it. And then I love hearing stories about how young people watched it with their grandmothers, and there was such an unusual bonding that they could sit and watch one show together and laugh about it. And I think that's really one of the reasons why, you know, we're still talking about it today, because it bridges all ages. It doesn't matter. I mean, you really would be hard to find someone that didn't like that show. But I mean, from little kids to 89-year-old people.
Yes. Well, what are some of those life lessons you learned working on the Golden Girls?
So many. I mean, I learned writing lessons, but life lessons, pick your battles, which can be in any industry that you go for. I think mostly to be present. You know, I was on that stage at such a young age, but somehow My Midwest upbringing taught me to really appreciate that I was there. I deserved to be there, but I was lucky and I worked really hard to get there. And to really look around and see the studio audience was laughing their heads off, and then I would look on the other side and I would see these four, the best of the best, comedians were saying my lines, and to really acknowledge where I was at the present day.
Yes. Well, tell us how comedy writing is both reflective and a catalyst for changing culture.
Especially with something like Golden Girls, they really encouraged us to write stories about the characters as they really were at that age, and not make it what they were doing on Facts of Life was making a very special episode. So they'd have really funny shows, and then suddenly they would do a really heavy topic. And the great thing about Golden Girls, they encouraged us to just make it the fabric of the show. So you would have really funny lines, but then you would be dealing with really serious issues. And I kind of took that into all of the other shows I worked on. Something like Roseanne is a lot like that. It's more what's happening with this family than joke, joke, joke. And when we started creating our own shows, we really liked that rhythm. And that's kind of like real life to me. There's some really sad moments in life, but yet I was always told as a child that I looked at life through rose-colored glasses, and I think that helped me in all these TV shows.
Oh, well, yes, that's so meaningful. And so what did you learn about comedy writing on the set of some of America's most loved sitcoms?
Well, I learned that if you write a joke for one character, you cannot give it to another character if the joke bombs. Actors don't like that. It's kind of hacky. And to write specifically for that character, because oddly, even though people think of me as a comedy writer, when I was starting, I didn't think I was funny. I mean, I knew I could make people laugh at parties, but not in writing. And to me, the jokes come out of character, and they're not just a joke that you could say in a stand-up comedy routine. It has to come from a real situation and real people. And that's why I think I gravitate towards shows like Golden Girls and Roseanne and Gilmore Girls.
Yes. Well, you have to tell me this. Why did a random idea lead to your first writing credit on the Golden Girls?
What was that?
What was the random idea that led to your first writing credit?
Well, we went in and pitched it. The show wasn't on the air, and you go in as a writer with 4 or 5 ideas. They didn't like any of them. So we were literally walking out the door, and I just couldn't let this opportunity go by, although I didn't know it was going to be a hit show, but I wanted to work with these actors. And just something came over me in the doorway, and I just turned around and yelled, "What if Rose's mother came to visit?" And they all looked at me, and I thought they were going to call security, but they said, "Come and sit back down, there's something there." And we worked out the story, and then we went home and wrote that first episode on freelance, and then they said, "These guys really have the voice of the show," and they brought us on staff really quickly.
Yes, oh, I love that. Because honestly, what is the Golden Girls without all the Golden Girls?
Exactly, and luckily I kept a journal since college, but during all the different TV shows, and I was able to put that in this book that I wrote that came out last year called The Girls, From Golden to Gilmore. And I used excerpts from my journals, how I felt when I was on staff, and all the insecurities, and not wanting to get fired, and when Rue McClanahan would suddenly start talking to us on set, or becoming friends with Estelle Getty, and that's all in the book that I just so happen to have here.
Oh, I love that. Tell us more about this book. Where can people find it, and what is your favorite part about writing?
I think I only have one book in me, and this was it, but I really wanted to get it out there to kind of tell my life story, but to get into the nitty-gritty of how TV shows are created. And I just wanted to explain, what it was like to write for all of these women, and why I gravitated towards writing for women, which was very exciting. I did not know that the last chapter was going to end up being about my mom, and unfortunately about her passing, and then realizing that she was my one true Golden Girl.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to have to find your book and read it.
Yes, it's a very quick read. It's great to bring on a plane, little chapters of all the different shows. But it's like we were sitting having coffee or a glass of wine or beer, and we're just talking stories, and very conversational is what people tell me.
Yes, or sharing a piece of cheesecake.
There you go. There, I like that.
Well, I know this is probably going to be very hard to choose, but do you have a favorite memory from working on any of these shows?
There's so many. Actually, the part I like, working on them can be tough because it's really long hours, but the favorite part of all those shows is really meeting the fans and hearing what the show meant to the fans. Actors get that all the time because you know who they look like and you can stop them in the supermarket. Nobody knows what I look like. So when I go to different conventions or a Golden Girls cruise, I get to meet the people that have been loving the show all these years, know every line. I'm horrible at trivia with the show, but they seem to know everything, and hear the deep meaning that it was for them.
Yes. Well, you know, just in the future, what do you hope for all these shows that you worked on, especially the Golden Girls and Gilmore Girls?
I think it's so fantastic that it can just keep going and finding new audiences, and people find the relevance in it today. And, you know, it's good and bad, but some of the issues that we dealt with on Golden Girls are still talked about today. And getting their perspective. I think, especially with older women, we don't get to hear and see them on television. You know, there's still ageism, and to be able to see that they can be vibrant and sexual and have opinions, and four different opinions, I think is really important. So we just hopefully can have more shows, and more shows like Gilmore Girls that mothers and daughters can sit down together and watch.
Yes, well, I love that. Well, I definitely love rewatching all the reruns and seeing them continue through the generations.
Well, keep watching them, and you know, let me know what you think of them.
Yes, well, where can people find more information about you?
I'm all over, but I especially love Instagram, Zimmerman Stan, and that's kind of on all platforms, and I answer all my messages, and you know, reach out and keep watching the show and sharing it to the next generation.
All right, Stan, well, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us. This has been a real pleasure.
Well, thank you for being a friend.
And thank you for being a friend. All right, for more information, go to the website there on your screen. We'll be back with more East Texas Live in just a moment. Stay with us.